Oh, stop. Good morning. Well, first of all, I have to tell you that it's always with trepidations that we do a relaunch. We are a startup. We've said that before. We launched September 11th. And so, of last year. And so we're now in our third location. Every time we move, we freak out. We think, is anyone going to come? Is anybody going to show up? Is it going to be just an intimate kind of gathering, a little coffee kind of conversation around a small table, which would have been fine as well. But this is really cool that you guys are here and are joining us in our new relaunch of 1 Million Cups at Rollins College. So first of all, thank you to you guys for showing up. We really appreciate it. I want to tell you real quickly, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. So we're all volunteers. Everybody here kind of pitches to put this together. We have Shay sitting right here in orange. Right behind her, Natalie is one of the other organizers. David sitting there, waving away. Somewhere behind the camera is Nancy in Kansas City. And then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the wonderful people who are helping us out today and putting this on. Obviously, this is an exciting thing for us, Rollins College, so thank you guys for allowing us to be here. We've got Carrie and Joshua right here in the front, so they deserve a big round of applause because they made this happen. Because if you turn around for just a little bit, you can see how much room to grow we have, and that's what we're hoping to. We're hoping to fill this thing up and have people standing in the back, so that when we really hit our stride, this will be just the place to be on every Wednesday morning, even more so than it is today. So, without any further, who's here for the? Awesome. What? So, thing is. But then we don't. Are you? Oh, we're not streaming. So I'll. Oh, what? We're figuring this thing out. Sure, I can. Absolutely, I can. Better? All right, sweet. So thank you guys. For those of you who are here for the first time, next week bring 2 friends because we need to fill up these rows. We're going to have more coffee available, a lot of great conversations again, and pretty soon we're going to start bringing some of our alumni back to present and tell us a little bit where they've been since the first time they came in and talked to us. Can we pull up the parking map real quickly because I want to talk about this for a moment. Let me make this very clear. If you're not parked across the street, odds are you will get a ticket. And so the parking is free. There's a little rubber stamp at the front. Bring your ticket with you, stamp it, no charge. Again, thank you, Rollins College, for doing that for us. So, yes? Perfect. Forehead, that works too. So park across the street. That's going to move, by the way, in the next few months. That walkway will then be directly on the other side of where we are today. So that's going to move to that corner. And so, Vanna White. And so that's going to make life even easier. So just remember that. So please, if you haven't parked, chance it this week, that's okay. It's a Rollins College ticket. That doesn't mean that you should ignore it, but nonetheless, they can ticket you and tow you again. Correct. The path will change. The parking doesn't change. Thank you. All right. Please come on in, guys. Make yourself at home. Grab some coffee. Sit down. That's awesome. All right. Are we ready for Here Comes TROBO? All right. Our first presenter.
That's forward. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeremy. This is Chris, and we launched TROBO at Startup Weekend in November. It's been kind of an interesting journey for both of us. I'll tell you a little bit of how we got here first. Whoops. Chris and I actually met previously at a company. Chris started working there in 1999. I started working there in 1996. We made audio-video products for theme parks, for the theme park industry, and we worked really well together. It was very interesting. One of the things about it, though, is working in the theme park industry, we were exposed to the power of storytelling. We got to work with some custom clients like Disney and Universal and Lego and a bunch of museums. So we got to see really good storytelling, and we also got to see not as good storytelling. But it showed us how storytelling can impact people and how it can make an influence on people. And that was something that kind of stuck with us. And then we both kind of went our separate ways. Chris left and went to business school, went to film school. I later left and went to business school and then came back to that company. But then we kind of evolved also. We became parents. This is Chris's son, Asher. These are my kids, Sophia and Jake. And for any of you that are parents out there, you kind of know about toys. You know there are good ones out there, you know there are bad ones out there, and you know there are really annoying ones out there. Chris and I as engineers looked at the toys that our kids played with, and it really proved to be a source of annoyance, or more a can't we do better here. Part of it was that I wanted to get my kids into science and technology and engineering just because I always knew that I wanted to do that, and I thought there was an opportunity there. I tried to geek up my daughter a little bit. I would take her to Kennedy Space Center, and she liked to push the buttons, which is a good start. That's how I got started. But it really showed us that there was something missing out there. So then fast forward to November of last year, when we went to Startup Weekend, and Chris and I ran into each other. We had no idea. Chris had moved back to town. We had no idea the other person was going to be there. We pitched our ideas, and we decided to join forces, and we put together this product because we really saw an opportunity out there for a way to do things better. So we identified this void. We looked at it and said, there's so many toys out there. Our kids are going to play with things, but does it really have to be so mindless? There's a lot of science and technology and engineering toys for kids that are older. But for kids 2 to 5, 2 to 7, there's really nothing out there. There's a lot of new things in the category. There's things that are hyper-targeted towards girls like Goldie Blocks. There's things like Snap Circuits. There's a lot of toys that are aimed at older kids, but we really saw this void in this smaller age. And we knew that our kids are going to play, so we wanted to take advantage of that and said, can't we take an opportunity to have them learn something? So where are these compelling and substantive toys? And taking that idea of this fantastic storytelling that we've been exposed to and we've seen that works in the theme park industry, how do we bring that to toys? Now, for the other part of this, people who are parents will relate to this. If any of you have ever stepped on a toy in a pitch black garage in the middle of the night and had to make a noise and scare you, do toys really have to be so annoying? Is that really part of the thing? So part of our idea was, let's try and figure out a way to make something compelling. So that's where we came up with TROBO. TROBO is an interactive plush toy companion, and actually at Startup Weekend we built, while everybody was coding, we sewed that. It's an interactive plush toy companion. So the idea behind it is this is a toy that's going to be the child's best friend. But not only that, it's featured in its storytelling application. So with the backdrop of science, technology, and engineering, and math, we can create really compelling interactive stories for kids to participate in. And the cool part about it is the child is featured in the story, their name and an avatar of themselves, featured in the story with TROBO so they can go on these adventures together. So it brings the child along for those adventures. In terms of revenue generation, new story content will be available via in-app purchase. We're also looking at potentially having additional characters, male and female characters as well, and then potential brand extensions, for example, museum exhibits, additional story books, merchandising, things like that. So Chris will talk a little bit about where we are now.
So where we are now, I'd like to introduce you to TROBO. This is actually Edison. He is one of several models that we're working on. He is about 3 weeks old, and he's fresh from China from a manufacturer that we've partnered with there. So we got a few tweaks, and once we have the few tweaks taken care of, we're going to order several of these for a live focus group. The live focus group will be with the Science Center and perhaps some local schools. We're thinking about 5 or so of them. The goal is to make sure that we do have the minimum viable product that will ship on the market. In addition, we do have a live focus group right now online that has about 60 parents, and they've helped us pick the model that we're going with, the story that we'll show you in a moment, as well as the art for the story. We also have an application that we've been developing. And we have a demo of that if you want to see it afterwards. That is, actually this is here. These are a couple of screenshots from it. It has one story. It's how is honey made, and it talks about the chemistry, about how honey is made by bees. So the cool part about the application, which is about 50% done, most of the artwork is done, but we also have to do the technology stack for it, is that you can include your child in the story. We have an avatar builder, so you can pick his hair color or her skin tone, that sort of stuff to build your child. And you also have the ability to put their name in, which is indicated up in the top panel there, so the child really feels immersed in the story with TROBO as they go on this learning adventure. The other thing we want to do is potentially put the child's photo in there, but we have to make sure that we're handling our patent stuff appropriately. And I guess that's about it for this.
Yep. So the exciting part about this, which we've failed to mention, is TROBO has a speaker in him, and he is actually the narrator, the storyteller for it. So he'll recite the child's name and tell the story. So the idea is the child will embrace both the companion and the stories and participate in these science adventures. So in terms of next steps, we're, as Chris said, we're doing more customer validation with the idea of validating not only our idea, but assembling a group of core customers that we can route to a potential Kickstarter. We're also still looking for development help, and we'll talk about that in a second. And we're also very proud to be part of the second class of Starter Studio, which is going to start next week. So we're excited about that. So in terms of our ask, we're looking for development partner or partners to help us. Chris has done a fantastic job with the initial prototype development, but we're looking for some people that feel passionate about what it is we're trying to do. And Chris can be more specific about specific technical skills, but we're looking for somebody who is excited about this, who says, yeah, this is a really awesome product. I want to join that team and really help you guys along. The second part of it is we're looking for an angel or angels, and along the same lines, it's somebody who's potentially made an exit, who's an engineer, who says, you know what, it's a lot of the same things that we said. One of the things that kind of drew us to this, and me specifically, was there's a lot of problems out there. When you watch the news, there's things that you can't really do anything about. If you look online, there's wars and conflicts going on. And I always used to yell at the TV, but when it came to science and technology and engineering, I used to go, yeah, why aren't we teaching kids more about that? Why aren't kids excited about the way I was? And then I said, you know what, we can actually do something about this. With our backgrounds, with our excitement, with our passion about it, there's something we can do about this. So we're looking for that same kind of person in terms of support. Somebody who says, you know what, this is really important. I love the idea of something hatched here in Orlando that really gets kids excited about science, technology, and engineering. And then the other thing is tell your friends and their kids. So I would say follow us on Twitter or Facebook or both, and keep an eye out for new developments for us, and tell your friends about what it is we're doing so that someday they'll be able to support us as well. That's TROBO.
Questions?
Questions? Yes, sir.
My question is, how do you find a developer? How are you going out and looking for a developer? Where would you find a developer?
So I can speak to that.
Okay.
I have a pretty decent network on LinkedIn, and my career as an engineer and as an engineering manager, I have a variety of companies I've worked with. And so I have a pretty decent network, and we've spoken with at least one engineer already about coming on board. But I'm also part of a lot of meetups, local meetups that are around UX design, iOS development, Android development. And so when we're ready, which actually should be pretty soon, I can start attending those meetups and reach out to those developers to see if they're interested as well.
But I would also open up to people in this room as well. If there's people that you know of, whether they're students, whether they've got full-time jobs, something else that they're excited about, but love this idea, send them our way. We're looking forward to meeting with people.
Just expand a little bit. So that's where there's a possibility of a developer, but how do you go and pick out the developer? How do you know the person you're talking to is qualified?
I'm looking for several technical skill sets. It would be lovely if they have published an iOS application, or perhaps an Android one, but we're targeting iOS right now. They also need to be familiar with user experience development, UI design. It's a fairly simple tech stack, but they have to have some technical skills as a software engineer, either in C++ or potentially ActionScript or web technologies. In addition to that, though, per Jeremy, they have to have a passion for this product. If they don't, you all know that the conversation around passion, people will work harder if they have that passion. So we're looking for someone who buys into the concept and would think about it in the middle of the night when they're laying there awake.
How much you charging for the robot, and are apps free, or do you pay for additional storage? What does that look like?
So the initial business model is we're trying to come in under $40 for the robot, and that would come with the app and 5 stories. Additional stories, we're looking at somewhere around $299 for additional stories.
And we'll start out with a free-to-play app, if you will, that has the first story for free. Parents can look at it without having to buy the TROBO, and they can put their child in there, and they can just see how the experience is. And then there will be an in-app purchase to motivate them to get the product and the full suite. And long-term, more stories, more apps. It's all the standard free-to-play model. So.
Do you have any competition out there? Is anyone doing a plush toy app?
There's one comparable one I know of.
Yeah, there's a few things out there. None of them focus specifically in the science technology space. There's some other ones that, the other thing about the other ones that are out there is they require the iPad or the iOS device to stay in the unit at all times. That does a couple of things. One of the things we looked at when we surveyed parents initially, we asked parents, do your kids have their own iOS device? And I believe around 20% of them do. The next step was, do your kids have access to an iOS device? And it was about 90%, or I think it was actually a tablet, about 90%. So that told us, I'll give you my iPad for now, but you are not taking that for the entire day. Yeah. If you buy one of these other toys, that has to sit there. There's actually one on Kickstarter right now where it's a big stuffed animal and you mount the iPad in there. The other part about it is it's kind of limits how plush and cuddly you can make the toy if you've got a giant rigid body in the middle. That was one thing that's really important to us is we want the kid to sleep with this. We want the kid to be their friend, this to be their safety item, this to be the item that they're, so that's why we put a lot of thought into how it looks and how it's cuddly. And also when we test it with kids, that's going to be one of the things we're looking for. Do they gravitate towards this as a character?
Do they want to hug and kiss it? It's critical that it have that my buddy feel to it where it's a companion. But like the Oobly, which is another comparable product that's already out, you shove your iPhone inside this little stuffed animal. It's really sweet, but that's not the same thing that we're doing.
Do you think you're limiting yourself by only focusing on science and technology? Whereas now, if this is my child's best friend, I might want him to teach my child
Other things?
a plethora of things.
I would like to expand it. We have a ton of ideas and a backlog of all these features that we want to do. We are trying to stay focused on STEM right now, but if this goes over, then I think we could go really wide.
Are you going to develop it in any other languages?
Right.
That is the
It's easy
beauty
to
of
do.
this thing, especially with regards to science and or STEM concepts, is those are universal. We can localize the content simply by changing the language. Everything else about it can stay the same. So this is a product, and also when you look at things like the App Store or Google Play distribution model, the ability to change the language to localize the content and use existing distribution models makes this a phenomenal opportunity.
It just depends on the library's ability to convert text-to-speech to that language, but there are some that can do that.
Back on the development side, I'm not sure if you guys have talked to anybody at FIAP, which is ECS graduate game design.
We haven't, but yeah, I know it.
So, if you're interested,
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
if they're graduating, you some really sharp design.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would think technical artists graduating from there would be a perfect set of candidates.
Have you guys tried to target any schools? Because right now there's a big push in the public school system to get STEM and STEAM programs just been launched.
Can you speak?
Yeah.
There's a big program that's starting, and a few other schools are really pushing the STEAM project.
We've talked about it. One of the approaches, we're trying to stay fairly focused on this, but we do see an opportunity in preschool and kindergarten curricula for something like this. We actually applied for a Department of Education grant that we're waiting to hear about for using something like this in schools. There is a tremendous opportunity for this in the school systems, whether it's small private schools. The biggest limitation will be the adoption of tablets or technology in schools, but I think there's certainly some affluent preschools that already have that in there, or potentially schools that could seek grants for STEM education that could afford the technology.
Definitely reach out to the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Big STEM program.
Do they? Okay.
Those nonprofit groups allow you, because they kind of beat the rules where they're in the school, but you don't have to
Yeah.
much kind of
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.
That's great. That's good.
Who are you relying on to continue developing the stories, or are you planning on bringing on writers?
Yeah, I'm also very creative. So I have a network of comic book illustrators, comic book writers, and we've built our network of also children's writers. In fact, the story that we showed you was the result of a contest where roughly 10 writers submitted story ideas. We did this back in February. And we used our focus group to pare it down to the story that we thought would appeal both to boys and girls. So that network, I hope to continue growing it. There's a lot of lists out there for children's writers across the country that are kind of localized. And so I think growing that network of writers is going to be important because, as you guys can tell right now, we don't have the manpower to do all the creative production as well as the technical production and run the business. So that will be quote unquote outsourced probably inside the country.
And it is one of the things we like about this option, the way we're doing it. We're obviously going to be guardians of our character, and that's important. But we like the idea of bringing different perspectives, whether it's creative, whether it's storytelling perspectives, using our character and bringing it obviously curated, but addressing a variety of different subjects. I mean, you can think of, from a story perspective, the opportunities out there are endless. We were talking about it yesterday that my daughter was asking how come when you're in an airplane your ears pop and you have to have a lollipop? And my wife and I turned to each other and said, oh, that's a great TROBO story. And so we're constantly thinking of those kind of things.
I think so maybe you were for one?
Yeah, the concept's great. Have you guys looked, or have you said you're going to start focus group in the flesh?
Well, we have an online focus group. Now we're going to physical live focus group.
Have you looked at, or are you thinking about doing a male or female version?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have. In fact, we already have a female version. The one that we showed you here, he is actually one of several designs, and his name, I think I mentioned, is Edison, based on Thomas Edison. So we also have one called Curie, which is a female one based on Marie Curie. And we hope to hit all the major disciplines with a robot that's designed for, biologists, and we'll pick a famous biologist and so forth. Yeah. But what we're doing now is once we get him straight, we're going to make Curie. So, yeah, okay.
Any concern that, speaking of Madame Curie, any concern that TROBO.com is owned by a French website?
We bought HereComesTrobo.com.
Right.
We would love to have Trobo.com, but life is life. So everything we've done across the board, Facebook, Twitter, everything is all Here Comes Trobo. Because we would love to maybe one day do that, but we understand. So, yes.
I have two
Come to
questions.
you.
Will all the different ones that, for example, are gender specific, will they all look the same?
We've thought about doing different models. Is that what you mean, for different genders?
Yeah, I just would
So-
encourage you not to make the Curie one pink.
Pink. Actually, that
We surveyed
that has
that.
been a continual problem,
Yeah.
and we've had non-pink models that we put in front of our focus group, and they actually chose a pink one. It's funny. So, but I've done some.
You can be a paradigm shifter.
Yes.
We're very conscious of that.
We are.
So innovative.
Yeah, we're very
I would
aware.
encourage you to stay true to that. But my
Yeah.
question is, are either one of you doing this full time?
I am. I decided to leave my job and go all in on this.
Yeah. And eventually I will.
Don't clap for me yet.
Eventually I will be once we hit a couple more milestones.
Have you thought about where you're manufacturing it? Like right now,
The way we found this manufacturing partner, I went to the toy fair. One, because I thought it'd be great research. The other thing, it was on my bucket list. It'd be awesome to go to the toy fair, so I went there. Business expense. But I was able to meet, one of the things we ran into as an obstacle was we knew we needed a prototype. We wanted to have multiple rounds of prototyping, and we wanted to have multiple prototypes so we could test with them. When we were looking around for prototyping partners, we either found people that were kind of amateur seamstresses, which was really hard. We actually we went through IADT to try and find somebody locally and found somebody, but the schedule didn't match up. We found some blogs where people do individual single plush prototypes. We found companies that manufacture plush but didn't want to do onesie prototyping. We actually found one company that they said, oh, you should go to this person, that's what she does. And she wanted $1,500 for one of them, and she was going to take 6 months to do it. And we said, that doesn't really match up with either of our criteria. So when I went to the toy fair, that was one of the things I asked about was, we wanted somebody who could, because the other thing is if we went to somebody else, an individual person, we could manufacture a prototype and it'd be great, and then you go, this is exactly what we want, you take it to a manufacturer, go, there's no way we can make this, you can't make thousands of these. So we found a manufacturer that was willing to do multiple rounds of prototyping. They did it extremely quickly for us, and they would also critique it and say this is what can be manufactured. They can also do, obviously safety testing is very important, they can do that as well. I'd love to have it manufactured in the US. We're not at that point yet where we're kind of researching large-scale manufacturing. Right now, we're just trying to get it validated so that we can move forward with the concept.
I have one more question.
Okay.
So with my experience with my right? So they're really used to it. So is this model safe for infants?
It is, except for we've had questions about the eyes. To be frank with you, my first design was with fleece because my son has a fleece Snoopy, and it's been around since he was born. So I'm still pensive about the fabric choice, but it's otherwise safe. We have to go through testing to make sure. But if we have concerns about the eyes, then we can take those and make them embroidered like the rest of it. So otherwise, we think it is. So good question.
So in the tradition of 1 million cups, I wanted to ask you, you guys have a few asks that you already did, but something right now, today, that we as a community of like-minded entrepreneurs can do for you guys. So what would it be?
I would say the developer.
Yeah, developers one, and it's always it's a matter of manpower. I would also think that we could use some help in marketing. So I think we both have MBAs, we both have some training around marketing, but experts in marketing are different than people who know some marketing, right? So, and that's true in general. So I would say that if you're really savvy in the marketing space and you have an interest in this, we'd also like your help. As far as the general answer, please talk us up. Please share our stuff on Facebook and Twitter. Everything is Here Comes Trobo. Facebook / Here Comes Trobo, Twitter / Here Comes Trobo, etc. You can find it all on the website too. Okay? Thank you.
So as we mentioned earlier, this cannot happen in a vacuum, and we can't do this without the support of the community. So, by the way, for those of you that haven't seen this yet, if you're not parked in that orange building across the street on Fairbanks/Aloma, you're in the wrong parking. If you have a ticket or just a piece of paper, we can validate it. There's a little stamp on the coffee desk, so just grab that stamp and use it. Can we go on to the next slide, David, please? Oh, all right, so we are on social media, so please tweet us, reinforce the message, tell everyone that we're here, tell them about your experience, share this. And this cannot happen without people helping us out. So right here, sitting behind the camera, is Rudy, who comes in early, helps us live cast this. And he's also part of the new class at Starter Studio. So congratulations, Rudy, with Joey Castor. Rollins College, thank you again for letting us here and allowing us to be here. We're looking for a coffee sponsor, so hopefully by next week we will have someone that will brew the coffee for us, so keep your fingers crossed. If there's someone that you want us to talk to, let me know, and I'd love to talk to them, but otherwise we'll continue as is right now, but with a little bit of luck, next week we'll have some great news on the coffee front.
I just wanted to say, if you want to tweet us, we're at RollinsENT.
All right, Rollins ENT.
At Rollins College, follow them too.
But more love over here. All right, so without any further ado, we're going to have Party Tutor coming up and tell us about their journey and their story. And everybody's here, so by all means, hang out over there afterwards, continue the conversation. I want to just ask you guys to please take your coffee cup with you. Be very careful. We're not supposed to have coffee in here, so very, very careful with your coffee cup and clean up after yourself so that we can continue to be here. All right, are you ready?
Testing. Testing. Is this working? Is it on? All right, cool. Hey guys, my name is Brent Henderson. I'm the founder of Party Tutor. So back in 2011, I was a junior at UCF. I was sitting around with some of my friends. It was the beginning of the semester. We were looking for a place to go out. And so everyone was sitting on the couch looking at their smartphones, texting bartenders, looking at different websites, different Facebook pages, trying to figure out where the best specials were. And so it just kind of hit me, we were all using these smartphones looking for the same thing, but we had to look in different places. So why wasn't there a smartphone app that had all that information put together for you? So that's kind of how the idea came about. So basically I was just a college student looking for the cheapest place to drink and the easier way to find it. And so that's kind of how the idea came about. And so I got pretty excited about this. I started talking to some of the local businesses to see if they would be interested in something like this. So I noticed this trend of everyone starting to adopt smartphones. And then after talking to the businesses, I realized that they were advertising in newspapers and magazines, but those things weren't working for them anymore. So they had this problem where they were trying to reach students, but students were always on their smartphones, and so they were coming into a new age where they needed to figure out a different way to be able to reach their audience. And so not only was this a great idea for students to have a free app with all the information that you needed to know, but it would also help out businesses be able to reach those students who are looking for them. And so I wanted to create this marketing platform through a smartphone that connected local businesses with college students. So I set out to change the way that people decide where they want to party, eat, save, or live. So I created Party Tutor. So Party Tutor is a smartphone app. It's a free app for students for iPhone, Android. It's also a website. And you basically, if you're a student and you're looking to use it, you can find the best place, the best bars, restaurants. You can save money. If you're looking to find a place to live, you can find all of that. It's basically the whole college experience wrapped up in one easy-to-use app. So if you click on the party page, that's going to pull up a list of the local bars. Click on one of the bars, it's going to drop down with their drink special, event flyer, and if they're offering an exclusive deal through the app, you can keep flipping through the specials so you've got a list of all the specials that are happening that night. Same with the food specials page. All the restaurants that are offering deals, you can flip through it and it helps you decide where you can save money when you're going out to eat. The Save page has a list of categories, so there's discounts for tanning salons, barbershops. Pretty much anything that you want to save money on, you can find a deal on there, and you simply just show the deal from your phone to redeem it. And the Live page has a listing of the different apartments around town, so you can find a place to live by looking at floor plans, photos, and it helps you decide that way. So right now, we've got over 50,000 downloads. Most of the traffic is at UCF, and Florida State's really starting to take off now. It's also at Florida and Kentucky, and so in the past year, we've had over 420,000 visits and over 1.7 million page views. So here's a list of the clients in Orlando. So we pretty much make money by charging local businesses to advertise on here. So it's bars, restaurants, local businesses, and apartments. Most of the income is coming from the bars and apartments, but pretty much any business that wants to reach students can do so on this platform. So some of the benefits for the clients, first of all, they have mass reach. All they have to do is place their business on the app, and they're going to immediately reach thousands of students who are already using the app. It's going to increase their revenue because the only reason that students are using this platform is because they're about to make a purchase decision somewhere. They're going out to a bar or a restaurant, so it's the most effective place that they can place their business. So it places them right in front of their customers as they decide where to go, provides them with a competitive advantage because if their competitors aren't on the app, then they're going to be looking at their business instead. So what tends to happen is as more students use this and as more businesses get on, they start to forget some of the businesses that aren't on the app because they become so dependent on looking at the app to see what the specials are. And it provides them with trackable tools so they can measure their ROI based on how many people are coming in and pressing the redeem button so they can make sure that it's actually working for them. So right now, we're working on redeveloping the app. I originally had it developed in India, but right now, those app images that you saw is going to be the new version that's coming out in June. And so I'm working with 321 Creative here in downtown Orlando to redevelop it. It's going to provide clients with their own login so that they can track everything and update their own specials. So it'll be completely a third-party software where businesses can put out all the content that they want out to students, and then students come to the same platform to see what they're offering. And so it's growing in new college towns, really increasing the advertising at Florida State and Florida to grow the user base there and grow the client base, and working on building a sales team in those territories to sign on more businesses. And so the goal is really to bring Party Tutor to every college in the nation. It can be profitable at any school with over 10,000 students. So what I could you probably use the most help with is scaling the sales process. I'm still pretty much a one-man team. I have some interns helping out here and there, but I'm looking to bring on more sales reps in new territories and figure out how to train them for the approach, the close, and also just figure out where I need to be to help this business really scale instead of trying to do too many things on my own. To increase their awareness from college students. Of course, getting corporate sponsors with obviously bigger budgets would really help the business scale much quicker. And so they could kind of, looking for a company that might be interested in doing something different and kind of being a pioneer in some of this new types of marketing. So that's Party Tutor.
Is there anything where, like, because they always say, who's the biggest party school? So I pretty much thought of maybe doing like a online party school competition to see who's the biggest, you know, kind of for promotion of that kind of thing to excite people about who has the most, the biggest party power, kind of use that to drive people to the app.
Yeah, I think so, but the problem with Party Tutor is I have to be very unbiased, so especially if I were to make that ranking, then it could turn people maybe at University of Florida away from the app if they say, oh, Party Tutor put out this ranking and only had us 12th, I'm not going to use the app, so I have to be really careful about those type of things, but I'm definitely thinking about different ways to maybe, I don't have a blog right now, but figuring out different ways to increase traffic in that kind of sense. So.
A lot of these, you know, university-specific apps and business models come up, and I've just downloaded your app while you were presenting and looked at all the stuff at UCF, which I think is very cool. It shows very detailed knowledge of the downtown area and then the UCF area. But how specific do you have to be in terms of knowledge of the area to really build out a geography? Because I mean, obviously, there's just in Florida alone, there's 7 major universities that meet your criteria at least.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge moving to new territory. I mean, growing up in Florida and going to school here, I understood Florida and Florida State pretty well and had connections there for people who could help me out. But it's definitely a challenge moving to like Austin or Arizona State and learning that new territory. But what's good about this is that it is a very niche area, and so I can look at the different magazines and newspapers and coupon books and see which businesses are advertising, so I know who the good prospects are pretty quickly for those type of things. But the main difference between this and all the other platforms is the nightlife. Not very many people have tried to go in the nightlife because their bars are typically the toughest business to sell from what I've figured out, but it's also the most useful, that people use it the most for those. So at least bringing in the content from the bars and getting that content, their specials up to date and out there brings a lot of people in, and then the other businesses can get business from us getting that huge user base to come in and use the app. So there's different ways to keep up with the content, but it's tougher to scale that way because it takes a lot more time to be updating the content and things like that.
And are you building out all the content, or is it only people that are advertising that are on here?
So in a new territory, a lot of the businesses will be on there for free until the user base gets bigger, and then we go back and start charging the business based on what works, as long as it's working for them. Twitter is really effective. In Orlando, we've got 8,500 followers. Florida State's got 5,500. So we kind of brand it as if it's a student, and we kind of, Party Tutor acts as if it's a student at the school, and they can really relate to them, and so it gets a ton of retweets, and it becomes a part of the community of students, basically. So Twitter is the most effective way, doing Facebook advertising, and then I've done everything from yard signs, flyers, giving away tanks. So I've done a lot of like guerrilla marketing and things like that, but ideally I'd like to be able to do all the marketing digitally through social media. That's how it can really scale instead of relying on doing flyers and things like that. But well, one of the challenges with like the new logo is also being changed right now. So this was the old logo, and that really some people still like that one better, but it was definitely hindering the ability to work with schools, as you can see. But it helped the user base. It helped to make it cooler. So it was good to start out like that. But this is going to be a lot easier to start working with the schools, as you can imagine. So yeah, I want to start working with the schools, figure out how I can get in those packets, and there's still having the name Party Tutor still hinders it a little bit, but I think it's still too important to call it that, and the brand awareness, and what it really, most people are using it for is the nightlife. So, but yeah, I think that I need to start building more partnerships with those type of things.
Isn't that a suggestion even be like a student talk? Maybe you can get scheduled with fraternity or sorority.
Yeah,
You know,
at the
just
chapters and stuff.
Monday at weekly meetings and then work on it.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question for you. It's the scalability model. You might want to think about making sure that whoever has it in a particular college town owns it. What I mean by that is not necessarily franchise or whatnot, but I think a million cups is going to work because the organizers own the market. They understand the market.
Mm.
They understand the niche. You know, they can talk about this college as opposed to somebody who might be in Omaha, Nebraska. They own the market. So just think about when you scale it. You might have to relinquish a little something.
Mm.
The person in Austin, Texas, or the person in at College Station, they know the area a whole lot better than you'll ever know it, even via social media, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
be careful about that.
So something that I'm trying to figure out is a lot of the sales have come from employees at these businesses who are students who tell their owner, you need to get on this, everyone's using this. And so I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that I can get the users to be selling it and somehow give them some kind of kickback for signing up the businesses that they go to a lot. I haven't figured out a way to do that.
If you got a friend who goes to Texas A&M
Yeah.
or goes to UT, they're going to just know it.
Yeah, right.
It might be, you know, hey, this is your territory, and you're responsible for growing it.
Yeah, definitely.
So what percentage of users would you say come to Party Tutor through the partytutor.com website versus finding Party Tutor like on the App Store or, you know,
Yeah,
like
good question. Most of the users are on iPhone. It's about 65%, and then about 20% Android, and only 20% or 15% website. So it's like everyone's using the app, and even on the website, a lot of them are using it from iPhone. So it's like 90% mobile. I'm really not too familiar with all the technical side of things, just do the business side.
just going off of what you just said about the companies that you want to target to advertise and kind of getting them on board and creating awareness with them, have you considered, since you said that they are employing college students, maybe allowing them to including something in there where they can post jobs
Yeah.
for free maybe, so that they are using it, they're familiar with it, and then now you have an opportunity with them
Mm.
to try to get them to market
Yeah.
and promote?
That's a good idea. I've thought about doing, having, because this can have any type of section that's connecting businesses with students. I haven't really thought about giving them a free option to do that to bring value, but it's definitely trying to bring more value to the businesses to get the foot in the door so that it's not just a new territory and now we're selling them on something they don't know about. And so definitely trying to figure out ways to do that. It's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm a fellow UC, I'm a UCF alum actually. I was wondering about dealing with both venues and I'm thinking UCF for the SEA specifically. Where you could access certain venues or organizations for event calendars. Just to go, oh, what's going on this week at UCF and the student movement, et cetera. Have you thought of something for that for a particular venue?
Yeah, well, for the events page, I've thought about approaching SGA about that. Like you say, with the logo, I haven't really talked to the school very much, but it might be something that they can start putting their events through. And then I've also thought about connecting different organizations and fraternities and planning their events and planning their parties since I have the connections with the venues, so I can start facilitating a lot of that stuff.
Someone mentioned Austin, Texas. I know even here in Orlando or in Park, there's tons of venues that there's like a concert or a comedy night or a poetry slam and open mic or something every other night. That just the idea of what's going on at those clubs tonight. Oh, there's so and so's there. Okay, let's check that out. I'd be very curious about something like not about knowledge of the venue in particular, but what the event is going on. Once you're familiar with
And so, I mean, right now it just has to be the main places that are paying for the average, some of them have to be on there for free in a new territory until it gets mass adoption, and then I just have to charge for those other places to be on there, so it's just too much to keep up with. But yeah, it's definitely useful.
Ideally, you want to get to that.
Yeah, I want every business to be on there and every student to be using it. So.
Have you thought about running like a student ambassador program where you put actual students at these colleges marketing this product, and actually like help you outsource like the blog writing, or actually have the students that go to the college help you with the marketing?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to build those teams, and there's a lot of people who are willing to market. I'm trying to figure out how to find those people, and maybe that's going through the school. Sometimes I've posted things on the app saying that we're hiring, and I've gotten some people from there. But I'm really just trying to figure out how I'm going to delegate all of it, because I've done certain things, but I get so caught up with all the things that they kind of start to lose interest, or because it's been difficult to manage all of it. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that at all of these schools when everything's growing and I'm trying to grow sales. And so I really need to delegate, but it's also about putting a lot of funds into the app, so I don't have as many funds to be able to hire certain people. So it would have to be interns, but also figuring out where I have time to be able to give them tasks and organizing that structure. But definitely.
Going off of what she said, I think the student ambassador program is a really good idea. We were talking about giving people incentive, like some sort of kickback for students. So I would recommend, as far as if they go out and they get this bar and come onto the app, and they get just a commission off that sale,
Yeah.
and that's how you can incentivize them and get them interested. I would reach out to different schools to market it, but it sounds like you're a little like there's so many different things going on. So are you focusing on one school at a time, or are you trying to build like 5 different schools at once?
Well, I was moving too fast at one point, and so now I'm scaling back and really focusing on just Florida, Florida State, and UCF, and maybe not even, and I'm still figuring out if I really want to attack Florida very much, or just Florida State, which already has a great user base and is growing really quickly, so maybe focusing all the time there. But that's a decision that I've got to make in the next 2 weeks, if it's going to be both schools or just Florida State.
So how are you going, like, in talking with that earlier? Are companies getting in touch with you and asking you to put information on your app, or are you going to go through
A lot of it is I have somebody who's sometimes contacting these businesses to see what they are. They're not always on board with it. It's just something the Party Tutor has to do and has to do for free for them. So a lot of it's also checking Facebook to see what's changed, checking Twitter. And so it's monitoring their social media posts. So anything that comes out on social media, we have it on the app. So you're not going to find anything different. But it has some missing information when certain businesses in new territories aren't on board with it yet. But that's how we're getting the content right now for the nightlife.
I think a big area that you may not be hitting is the college YouTube celebrity. And that might be something where you can say, hey, I got this blah, blah, blah. You post my logo in your YouTube video, because these kids are really starting platforms out of college, and they got millions of views. They're starting their own businesses in college, and they're pioneering these universities. And I've seen this happen for the past 5 years. YouTube celebrities stemming out of specific universities. So that might be a great area to say, hey, this is how you can benefit, maybe some affiliate marketing kind of thing.
Yeah.
You get a kickback if people come through your YouTube episode. So really think about hitting these YouTube celebrities that are chilling on college campus.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the price point for the ad space?
So it really ranges. I mean, most of the local businesses and restaurants are paying between $50 and $125 a month. The apartments are paying between $150 and $800 a month. Bars range from $75 to $500. It really depends how much exposure they're looking to get, how important it is for them to get students in their doors. So it fluctuates a lot, but and what's interesting is every industry has different budgets, and so it's like it's been kind of trial and error for figuring out what they're willing to pay, but it's interesting how they all pretty much have different price ranges for the budgets. So it's been kind of challenging to be selling different packages to every type of industry, but I've pretty much got that down. But training reps to have different sales pitches for every single type of person, and all those business owners are different type of people too. So that's been a challenge.
As you've been building your sales team, are you building it for vertical, or are you just having them
Yeah, trying to get kind of one person to handle the sales side. I mean, it's to get college, like I've been doing it commission-based, straight commission, and so finding people who are motivated in college who also have the skills to be doing this and closing deals has been difficult to find those type of people who are, you know, hungry and giving them a big enough commission to make it worth their time too. Yeah, I think that the Twitter in college reaches them. So Party Tutor actually affects where people decide where they want to go to college, because they see all their friends who just graduated who are retweeting Party Tutor, and so a lot of them hear about Party Tutor before they come in, and also the class of 2018 Facebook groups are great to promote on. So I reach them, most of the freshmen, before they get into college, and so it's starting to hit a tipping point at Florida and Florida State where over half the school knows about the app. There's still a lot of marketing that needs to be done to reach the older class, but getting the younger people and getting them having the app as a freshman, they're going to have it the next 4 years, is the most valuable to get those freshmen to start using it. But I think it might be too much to go to the high schools individually, but it's obviously a great way to maybe reach them before they get here. Yeah.
So I think that academia clearly holds a large place in the ecosystem around here. I'm just interested to know what kind of help you got while you were at UCF, if any, and what your major was too.
Yeah, I did finance and marketing. And so they have a thing called Launchpad now at UCF, and Pam is my mentor there, and she has helped me out tremendously. And so I still have meetings with her, and they had about 500 students come in with ideas, and I don't know how many of those converted to actually starting their own businesses, but it's really cool what's happening at UCF with the community that they're building there. But UCF has a lot of great resources.
Are you working with any of the faculty? Because naturally it's like the marketing on the external from a business standpoint. They want people they know, like, and trust. But the students are in front of the faculty each day, and if you bond with them.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't really worked with too much of the faculty. I know I talked to a few different teachers, but not really. But I mean, you're definitely right. They're in the classroom, so that's probably one of the most effective ways to reach them.
Because they want them to do the homework and all the things.
Yeah, so they might not want them on the app. I don't know.
Well, it'll complement each other because you get the buy-in.
Yeah, makes them. Yeah.
Brent, what percentage of your sales do you see being invested in marketing?
I would say right now about 50% of the sales are going into the app, and I'm saving up the rest to all put in all of it's going to marketing. There's really no fixed costs. There's not very much cost in this business besides what I spend in marketing and of course the development. So I'm reinvesting everything. So it's going to be, besides whatever I have to pay myself to be eating peanut butter and jelly, is going into marketing.
One more question.
Yeah.
Have there been any plans to market the full set? UCF, you have FSU, but
Yeah, not exactly. I think that the marketing dollars will be better spent reaching out, putting those at Tallahassee and Gainesville. I think that there are some full sales students who know about the app, and so it's kind of just getting that reach out. The students are really the best marketers. They, once they have the app, they want to tell all their friends. So it's just kind of a web effect where it keeps getting out, a ripple effect. But yeah, I mean, not really, but I think that it organically does reach a lot of them. So
Brent, again, same question we asked for TROBO, or Here Comes TROBO. What can we as a community help you to do right now, and what can we, what are the next steps you would like us to participate in?
yeah, I mean, just anything that you might have for creatively reaching out to those businesses and getting them on board, especially with getting them interested in the business without me going in there for the first time and selling them different strategies to give them some free things to get them on good terms with me. Any ideas for that? Any connections you have in Orlando for businesses that might want to be on this, and any sales strategies. Really, that's the most important part of the business right now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
So it's kind of new to us. So again, we also have an ask for you guys. So this could not exist without your help in the community. So you've heard 2 great stories this morning. We need more. So if you have friends, if you have a startup, if you think there's someone that we should talk to, encourage them to come and sign up online, and so that they can apply, and we'll review them and help them be a part of this great journey. If you as well have an idea for a startup, there's an event coming up on May 16th. It will be here at Rollins College as well, right down the street. It's called Lean Startup Machine, and it's a great mechanism. It's a great way for you to learn how to launch a startup and how to make sure that your idea has any merit. And it's a really an amazing workshop. If you have any questions, come and reach out to me. I see there's a couple of my co-organizers back there as well. If you guys raise your hand so that way they know. Annette and Damone are back there as well. So it's all based on the Lean Startup methodology, and we even have a couple discount codes for you guys. So come and talk to us, and we'll be happy to share those with you. And thank you again so much. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to validate your parking ticket. And one last thing, there's over 80 people in this room today.